You ever wake up on an island in the Caribbean? Welcome to day 3 aboard 70,000 tons of metal 2024. You may notice that the view has changed significantly. That is because today is port day. This cruise ship full of metal barbarians has arrived in Puerto, Plata, Dominican Republic. Here the metalheads have till 4 p.m. to pillage and raid the local communities, stealing gold, rum, and virgins. Those who choose not to partake in the pillaging can relax at the cruise port, which I gotta say was very nice. Cruise ports are basically outdoor strip malls for old rich people to get to say that they went to another country while essentially just being in a mall. But this was one of the nicer ones that I've been to. Tons of cool outdoor restaurants and bars, many of which were blasting metal. There were birds to greet the metalheads. There were tons of shops to get all kinds of souvenirs and trinkets and alcohols. They even had this really weird thing at the port I'd never seen in my life. It was a foot massage thing where you put your feet in a fish tank and these things just, suck you. That shit was weird. What the hell is wrong with all of you? Hard pass. Coolest part was this port had several pool areas, including this lazy river. I walked by briefly and thought it was a rad area to hang out at. If someone really wants, they don't even have to get off the ship at all. Bands don't perform until 5 p.m. on this day, but all the food in other areas on the ship are still open, making this the only day on the cruise the hardcore partiers can actually get some rest before doing it again in a couple of hours. But that wasn't on my itinerary. Fuck that shit. I am an adventurer, and I had already booked an excursion. An excursion is a land activity booked through the cruise line. You can book these ahead of time on the cruise app or on the ship. For each destination, they offer various overpriced experiences like swimming with dolphins, scuba diving, zipline adventures, guided city and nature tours, try local delicacies, and on this specific trip, you could even play with monkeys. Puerto Plata featured Monkeyland, a place where for $100 you got to let these little guys run all over you. I actually didn't do this one, but my friends here did, and look how happy they are. They couldn't stop raving about it, and honestly, I do kind of wish I did this one.
This is my new hat. We're just...
He's eating your hair.
It's really good. I love it. It's a good look.
But I, however, was off on another adventure. Being the thrill seeker that I am, I did the Waterfall expedition journey thingy. Now, I'm not gonna lie here, I kinda thought this would be a cool, somewhat hike, where you get to go through a couple of gorgeous waterfalls, but I was wrong. We first hiked for about half an hour through this Jurassic Park looking jungle, looking out for iguanas and velociraptors. Caribbean countries are humid, but by the time we were all gross and sweaty, we had arrived at the first waterfall, where they had us jumping and sliding and swimming through this pretty intense area. You may think these hats and life vests look fucking stupid, and indeed they do, but they were also very much needed. At least in my case, I suck at swimming, and metal vocalists don't float very well. Before doing it, I thought I'd be able to hold my phone and manage through the whole place fine, where there were many times where I had to let it just hang around my neck and actually swim. But this was really fucking cool. I recently had read the Jurassic Park novel, and there's a big part featuring the characters going down a river and waterfall with the T-Rex after them, and I definitely came up from the water here half thinking there'd be a giant scaly head staring at me, but thankfully not, just the jungle and pasty sunburnt bodies. The water felt amazing after that hike, and my inner adventure was filled, but my inner stomach was not. And while I did love swimming and climbing through this lush Dominican landscape, I was starting to look forward to that sweet, sweet buffet back on the ship. It's a bit of a strange feeling frolicking through a Caribbean island knowing you'll be back to headbanging on a ship soon. After the excursion, it was a brief drive back to the port, and I went to go aboard. By the time I got back on the ship, there was maybe an hour or so until band started, so I filled up in the buffet, rinsed the jungle off of me, and headed up to kick it on the pool deck. It's really cool to hang out up here while still in the port, so you can have all the cruise comforts and see new sights. If you can, I recommend hanging out up here as the ship is pulling away to get a really unique experience, especially if a band you want to see is starting right then. Bands kick off day 3 right as the boat starts to leave the port, so you can experience Jesus looking down on all of us headbanging sinners. As the ship pulled away, War Kings took to the pool deck stage refreshed from the raid and ready for action. They are a band that, to be honest, I didn't know of at all and didn't really care about, but I did lay back and chill in one of these big comfy chairs watching the island get farther away as they performed behind me, and that was pretty cool. We have now officially crossed the halfway point in this cruise. Pretty much every band on the lineup has already performed one set and are now starting to perform their second sets of the festival. So if you were bummed about any clashes on the schedule, now is the time to choose the other band. And one band I did miss earlier was Cataclysm. In fact, Cataclysm is a band that for whatever reason, when they're on a festival, I tend to be busy doing something else for some reason, seeing a different band or something, and it's been a while since I actually got to enjoy their set. And I definitely did. Cataclysm were sick, and the sound was very clear. I kept thinking that during their set. Night 3 on the pool deck tends to be the warmest night on the cruise, as we're further south on the planet, so make sure you stay cool with some death metal ice cream. Anyway, Cataclysm totally killed it, nothing like crushing Canadian death metal in the Caribbean, followed right by fancy Finnish melodeath in the Royal Theatre, with the return of Omnium Gatherum. We saw them yesterday. I think this is one of the few festivals where a band ends their set and they'll go, "We'll see you tomorrow!" And you do. The Finns delivered another beautiful, captivating, and fun set, but as Night 3 was just kicking off, my agenda for the night was already running out. Remember how I said that I really wanted to see Infected Rain and Crypta, but their first shows were disappointing because they were in the Star Lounge? Well, both of their next sets were coming up, starting at 4:30 a.m. Infected Rain's set was to start right at 4:30 a.m., with Crypta taking the stage at 5:15 a.m. That is fucking stupid. When putting together the schedule for a festival, who the fuck would even consider putting bands on at 5 a.m.? Personally, I thought this was just unbelievably dumb, especially because both bands can bring a pretty good crowd. This wasn't reserved for just them throughout the whole cruise. Bands are scheduled at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Why? I just can't imagine any band seeing they're gonna go on stage at 4 a.m. and thinking, fuck yeah, this is gonna be awesome. But unfortunately for me, the schedule was put together by someone drunkenly throwing darts at a board while blindfolded, and this was the current situation. Do I stay up all night till sunrise to see these bands after a long day of running from dinosaurs in the jungle? Or do I sacrifice a couple band sets and end this night early and get a real early start on the last day of the cruise? The rest of Night 3 had plenty of bands I would have definitely enjoyed seeing, but ultimately I did want to see these other two bands more, so I did end up deciding to call it a night early. However, my shortened night would still be nothing less than fucking magical. After Omnium in the theater, it was back to the elegance of the dining hall for a feast of chicken and prime rib. Fun fact, you can order 2 entrees here for no extra charge. I do it literally every single time I come in the dining hall. Get steak and prime rib. Fuck it, who cares? After my feast, it was a quick elevator ride up to the pool deck, and I got in the prime spot to get ready for Blind Guardian, the hot tub. When on board a metal cruise ship, I feel like you gotta watch at least one band in the hot tub. When else does one get this opportunity? People tend to look at you kind of strange if you bring a hot tub to a regular concert for whatever reason. On this cruise, the hot tubbians are a proud people, washing in the majesty of power metal and chlorine. I feel like it's important when you're on this cruise to continue to find yourself time to stop and be in the moment and realize just how fucking crazy this whole experience is. I mean, I just swam through a jungle, ate a fancy dinner, and about to see my once favorite band as a teenager. What even is life?
Is this real life?
Blind Guardian took to the stage and the crowd was all cheers and singing, especially because they were playing an even more old school set this time. This set included the additions of Into the Storm, Welcome to Dying, Time Stands Still, and Lord of the Rings. And let me tell you, it is such a magnificent, yet strange, surreal, and awesome experience to be triumphantly headbanging and singing songs about battling Morgoth while being drenched in hot tub water. If their show in the theater was a beautiful ceremony, this one was a wild celebration. During their show, someone would get lifted up like they were crowd surfing, and then you would realize they were in the hot tub and would suddenly just be dropped into the water. It was hilarious, especially during the Bard song, when it's a real beautiful moment on the pool deck, and everyone is singing this nice, beautiful song together under the bright moon, and you just see a little splash as someone is dropped in the hot tub. This set was a total blast. It was one of the best of the entire festival. It was epic to get such an old school set under the Caribbean night sky while soaking in a hot tub. Blind Guardian delivered yet another spellbinding set under the stars, and my inner nerd was completely overwhelmed with their power. And even being outside in the wind, I noticed that the sound was excellent. I was particularly blown away when they played Sacred Worlds. One of those moments where a band is playing such an epic song and you just get the entire sense of the situation you're in a ship sailing across the sea through the night. It feels different than just seeing it played at your local theater or just listening to the song. What a completely fantastic fantasy this entire day was. Jumping into waterfalls and headbanging in hot tubs. But all tales must come to an end, and as I said before, I have an early morning ahead of me. The sacrifices we make for metal. So once Blind Guardian finished playing Mirror Mirror for the second time on this cruise, it was a minute-and-a-half journey back down to my room, first stopping at Sorrento's of course, and getting ready to call it a night. It did feel really strange to be going to sleep at about 11:30 on this epic metal experience, knowing full well that most people were just starting to engage in their most savage shenanigans. But I was already committed and knew that I would more than make up for it the following day for an even extra long day of metal. As it was, I made it back to my room where I forced myself into a meditative Jedi trance for 4 hours and called it a night. But there is so much more goddamn metal coming up before this sailing is over. Metal bands starting at 4:30 a.m. and ending at 2 a.m. Is it even possible to experience that much metal in one day and not spontaneously combust? Can the metalheads aboard this ship even survive one more day of extreme alcohol abuse? Will our heroes discover the velociraptor that made it aboard? Will the captain notice the iceberg in time? And how many people really can fit on that door, Rose? We will find out the answers to all of this and more in the upcoming final episode of Boats and Shows. For more from me, check out my band Dark Insanity on Instagram and here on the channel. We just recorded our first demo we'll be releasing real soon. We're taking part in the Vakken Metal Battle this year, where unsigned metal bands compete in a Battle of the Bands competition for the chance to play Vakken Open Air. Our first performance is March 2nd at Stages in Santa Ana. Come out and support us if you want, that would be cool. We're also playing the Tulminator Festival in Slovenia in July, our first European festival show at the most beautiful metal festival in the world. Come check it out. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitch if you like. I'm about to start streaming over there, so check that out. Links for all of my cool stuff are in the description of this video, so go check those out. Anyway, that's it for now, and I will see you in the next video.